Relationship advice. Update 2. My female 33, fiancé male 34, found out I pay for my parents' health insurance and said they are financially abusing me. Original post. My fiancé male 34 and I, female 33, have been dating for 3 years and living together for 1. We've been loosely saving to buy a house, and about 2 weeks ago, we decided to sit through our finances and try to draw an actual plan to see if we could save money more consistently and whatnot. As expected, we had a few disagreements on what expenses we should cut, but nothing too big, until he found out I pay for my parents' healthcare insurance, and we have been fighting about it nonstop since then. His main point is that my parents don't need it since our country has universal healthcare, and if they wanted insurance, they could pay it themselves. Although this is true, the public healthcare system is known for being overcrowded, and it can take months until you see a doctor. My dad has diabetes and a heart condition, and I'm afraid he wouldn't get the help he needs fast enough. It's also true they could pay for it, but not without some sacrifice. They're very middle class, and they would probably anyway because my dad is the stoic type. His refusal to get insurance was the reason me and my brother decided to pay for it ourselves. Fiancé also argues that's unfair to spend so much money on them when we're trying to save everything we can for the house and is cutting all of his extra expenses. But the fact is that, even with insurance, I'm still saving more than him because I earn more. He thinks if I redirect this money to our savings, we can buy our house faster and with less sacrifice, which means he could keep some of the extra money he's putting on the house. I'd rather wait longer if I have to, if it means I can assure better care for my parents if they need it. Plus, that way I'd be paying for more than 2/3 of the house, and I already pay for most of our rent. He thinks I'm being selfish. I think he's being selfish. But what we've been arguing mostly about is he says my parents are taking advantage of me, that they're abusive and controlling of my money, and that I can't start a new family if I don't let go of them and cut the cord. I admit I'm close to my parents. I call them every couple of days, and I used to see them regularly before the pandemic, which fiancé says it proves I'm emotionally dependent on them. But they hardly ask me for money, and I don't pay for anything else except an occasional dinner. He's been sending me articles about helicopter parents and even brought up the time I lived with them as an adult for 2 years. They took me in when I had a major setback at 25 years old and lost my job. When I tell him I don't see that way, he keeps bringing up the fog, which apparently is the inability of abused people to see the acts of the abusers and such. My brother is on my side, but his friends says he's right. I was sure about this, but I don't know anymore. I admit he has some points. Is the fact that my parents don't need the money but I still feel like they do a sign of abuse? He's been also pointing some situations where I reached to them for advice or help as proof that I'm not grown up enough, and even suggested I go non-contact for a while. Not forever. I won't, but I'm starting to feel less inclined to talk to my parents after our arguments. Has anyone been in a situation like this? What did you do? Now for the top advice before reading the first update. I lived with them as an adult for 2 years. They took me in when I had a major setback at 25 years old and lost my job. Your parents had your back when you were in your toughest spot at age 25. That says everything about how much they should mean to you. Your fiancé is talking crazy talk telling you to go no contact with your parents. Plus, that way I'd be paying for more than 2/3 of the house and I already pay for most of our rent. The real issue is your fiancé feels less of an adult with your contributing more financially. I can't start a new family if I don't let go of them and cut the cord. Are you two planning to have children? Is your lifetime goal to have children? Because if you are blindsided by what your fiancé thinks about money, there may be other issues you are overlooking. If having children is your lifetime goal, I advise freezing your eggs to give you more options. The real issue is your fiancé feels less of an adult with your contributing more financially. Yet, he is prepared to allow her to contribute even more financially so that he doesn't have to contribute as much. Girl, this man wants all your money to go towards the savings. You'll already pay for everything. He wants all the money in the savings. Do not freaking do that. That's a huge setup. You make more than him. He wants the extra money in the joint account. You spend too much money. Do you not see what he's doing? Yikes. You have to watch your back with your husband, since you make more than him. Do you guys have a prenup? We're not married yet. We haven't discussed prenups or anything, but the house is going to be in both of our names. He didn't strike me as a gold digger, He's quite moderate in his spending. But they never do at first, do they? I'll keep that in mind and maybe talk about the prenup after we solve this issue. Thanks. Info. How much does healthcare insurance cost relative to your net income? Info. What is the difference in salary between you two? It does not seem like you're being financially abused. It seems like you recognize that family members help each other. When you lost your job, your parents helped you out. Now it's your turn to help them out. This is not about money for extravagances. This is about health. You should not get married or buy a house together until you are on the same page regarding your finances. I make a bit less than 3 times what he makes, and the insurance costs about 7% of my free income. I don't know how to say it. It's what I get after taxes. It means we may have to save for a bit more time, maybe a year more, if neither of us get any raise. And that would also be fine if he says he doesn't want to put all he can and save some for something he thinks is important. But his issue seems to be more about where the money is going than how much is it. I'm rethinking that after all these comments about him being interested on the money though. Now for the first update. We had agreed on a truce so we could spend holidays in peace, since we were isolated and it was going to just be him and me. Christmas was relatively okay, but the next day my mom sent us some leftovers from their dinner, which turned out to be a full meal that she clearly cooked for us. Fiancé got pissed about it. We argued once again about my parents being controlling. He said they couldn't leave us alone to even have a holiday in peace, and how I wasn't grown up enough to make myself a dinner and my mom had to send food. I'm not a great cook, but I get by and I did make us dinner the night before. I never depended on my mom to feed us. But he brought up other occasions where my mom had sent us food, and that's not something you do for adult children. He also said he can't trust me with the money after what he found out and insinuated he would be the one in charge of our finances once we got married. But he backed off when he saw how mad I got. Long story short, we argued for a couple more days about it, and I ended up leaving the apartment. We didn't officially break up, but it's been several weeks and it looks permanent. He reached out a couple of times to see if I had come to my senses, but every attempt at a talk turned into another argument, and I'm just tired. I rented another place and haven't told anyone about what happened yet, but apparently he did, because I got some nasty messages from a few of his friends. So I guess he already made up his mind. Most of my things are still at the apartment, I hope, so I still have to figure that out. I'm just living day by day. It's hard wrapping my mind around the whole situation because it doesn't make sense to me. It does not seem like a good enough reason to break up a 3-year relationship, but it is what it is. Thanks to everyone who helped me on my original post. I guess you all saw this coming. Edit. Some people came up with the fair point that this is only my POV, which is true, but I don't have a neutral third party to ask about it, because the only people I think know what's happening are my brother and my fiancé's friends. So not really unbiased. But there's an important thing that I left out because I don't want to think is the reason for all of this, but maybe it is. My parents are not my bio parents. My mom is my bio mom's sister, who looked out for us when things got bad at home, until she took my brother and I in when I was a teenager. Bio mom is an addict, in and out of the picture, but mostly out for the past 10 years. I lent her money about 5 years ago, and I know I'm not ever seeing that money back. I know my brother did the same on a couple of occasions. Does that change everything? Most people are saying it's a normal thing for parents to do, but maybe it's not normal if they are not your real parents? Maybe that's what bothers my fiancé. I never ask because I'm afraid of the answer. Also, he knew about the money I gave my bio mom, so he might see it as a pattern of me freely giving money to my family. Just to be clear, he never said any of it, although I think that's what he meant when he said I can't be trusted with money. But I got so mad didn't delve into the subject. I'm very aware that because of my background, I'm prone to be in abusive relationships. I'm just trying to figure out if it's my family or my significant other. I'm also aware I need to go back to therapy. I stopped during COVID. That was a mistake. Now for some advice before reading the final update. He reached out a couple of times to see if I had come to my senses. Answer should be, yes, we're done. Yep, up along with being a good girl. This is a typical abuser language. You make 2/3 of the income, make most of the bills, and he can't trust you with money? The only person here who is being financially abusive or controlling is him. He is trying to cut you off from normal and healthy relationships in an effort to control you. He sure as hell is not entitled to tell you what to spend your money on when you already pay more than half the bills. If he comes back, kick his behind to the curb. You do not need that kind of abusive, controlling person in your life. There is nothing wrong with a parent sending their child food either. My mom used to send me home with things she cooked for me, and she even made food for my brother and his wife. Frozen casserole so they had a break once in a while. She didn't dictate how or when we should eat it. I bet it's pissed you were paying most of the bills. For Pete's sake. Now for the final update. So last time people were very nice, reaching out and opening my eyes to the situation, and they brought up a lot of things I wasn't thinking about. So I thought you deserve some closure, even if it's not a very positive one. I tried to solve the old apartment issue first, because as some people guessed, I was still paying for it, mostly to avoid a conversation. I texted him asking for a good time to go over and pick up my stuff and talk about financial agreements. He called me immediately and asked if I was breaking up with him. Like, you did it already? So we started arguing over the phone, until he suggested I come over so we could settle things properly. So I went by myself. Such a good idea. Surprising nobody. Talking in person didn't change anything, and we kept fighting just the same. Except he was becoming more and more aggressive because I was standing my ground in us breaking up. He said some pretty harsh and offensive things, which he never did before. And it hurt, but only confirmed my decision. Until he said that he talked to my brother about us, and that totally set me off. He said my brother agreed with him that my parents were overbearing and even agreed to back off for a while to let me grow up. I guess he thought that having my brother on his side would convince me he was right. It was such an obvious lie, but I was suddenly filled with utter terror that my brother shared his opinion about me, or would want to get away from me, or I don't know. I knew it wasn't true, but at the same time, the mere idea of a world where this would happen completely shattered me. I don't know. Anyway, I started to hyperventilating while he was talking, and since I was unable to respond, he just went on and on about how things were going to work from now on, and worse things I don't want to repeat. At some point, I just dissociated, like I used to when I was a kid and the abuse got really bad, and can't remember almost anything after that. All I remember was pressing the phone on my face really hard. Apparently, I called sister-in-law at her work and didn't say anything, so she sent my brother to check on me, and he took me to the hospital. I'm getting better now, but I'm having a lot of PTSD episodes. Mostly I'm having a hard time accepting how he could be so manipulative, and I never knew. My brother and sister-in-law think he set me off on purpose, as he knew my past and all my triggers. I don't want that to be true, but I have a flash of memory where I'm crawling away from him because I couldn't speak, and he just sort of laughed and kept talking. I know memories from dissociative episodes can't be trusted though. I finally went to the older apartment over the weekend again with my brother and his friends and took everything that's mine. My ex was nowhere to be seen, and it looked like he hasn't been over in a while. This week I'll talk to the landlord about the rent, and my brother is helping me deal with our joint account. We don't have anything else connecting us, so I think that's it. I've been on medication, which I hate, but I like to think I've overcome worse scenarios. I guess at the end, my ex kind of had a point about me being emotionally dependent on my family. He just missed the target. Thanks to everyone who gave advice and tried to help. I won't be updating this anymore. Now for closing comments. I'm so sorry he treated you like that. Give your sister-in-law and brother and especially your parents a hug as soon as it's safe. You should feel proud you stood up so well. Stood up for yourself and for your family. Your ex had no point about you being dependent. He was just trying to bring you down and isolate you. Having family to lean on during a difficult time like this is a completely natural thing to do. None of those things he said had any basis in reality. I'm very sorry this happened to you, but you're already moving on and doing a great job. You are stronger than you think. Good luck. I read all of your posts, and I'm so glad you have such a strong and supportive family structure. I'm also glad you didn't let that little turd ruin your relationship with your amazing supportive family. I hope things get better for you from here. Thank you so much. I hope so too. My brother and sister-in-law think he set me off on purpose, as he knew my past and all my triggers. And he was laughing at one point? He's a sociopath. File a restraining order now. Well, I can't be sure about that. I don't have a clear memory about it. My first thought is that it was a fight that got out of hand. He hasn't contacted me ever since. Now for the last story. Father-in-law is living with us. It's driving me crazy and slowly destroying my family life and my mental health. Bit of background. Me, female 30, live with my long-term partner, male 30, and our little boy. My partner's parents moved back from abroad last year, and they were staying with my partner's brother, sorting out where they were going to live. And then in October last year, they had a huge fight and decided that they were going to separate. My partner's brother chucked his dad out and allowed his mom to stay, and we were not given any choice but to take his dad in. I have never really got on with his dad, and I didn't want his dad to stay with us as I knew that things would end up how they are now. His dad has savings and a small income, so could afford to rent a small place somewhere, but my partner would not let his dad do this. I was overruled when I said that I didn't want him to stay. My partner said that as soon as his dad gets a job, he can find somewhere to live, but he is being unrealistic in the jobs he wants to get. His dad has now been with us for 4 months, and there has been mounting problems ever since. His dad is very controlling. He has tried to take over all the day-to-day running of the house, which I have kicked back at, as it is not his house. I'm not against him helping out, but not to take full control. His dad also likes to stay up for the majority of the night, so sleeps until at least midday. Luckily, my son is still able to go to nursery during the week, but we have to try, I don't bother anymore, to keep him quiet at the weekend so my partner's dad can sleep. He undermines us constantly with our little one. For example, we will ask our little one to do something, or he will be in the process of doing something, and my partner's dad will distract him or try to get him to do something else. He will tell our son not to listen to mommy and daddy. He will also get our son to break the rules, such as no throwing balls in the house, no sliding down the stairs, and other things like that. He has also got a thing about our son being underweight. Our son is not underweight. He is a healthy, very active, petite kid who eats loads. However, he is trying to take on a role of getting our son to eat. I am furious, and I have discussed this with my partner, and he doesn't see it as a problem. But I am so annoyed, as it is not his father's place to do anything. So ultimately, I am frustrated, angry, feel like I'm being judged constantly in my parenting skills by his father. My mental health is suffering. My relationship with my partner and my child is suffering. I feel like I can't be the mom I want to be, as I constantly feel anxious and on edge. I feel uncomfortable in my own home. I don't feel like I can relax. I have spoken to my partner a few times now about it, and he just tries to blow me off most of the time, and that he doesn't understand where I'm coming from. That a lot of it is just in my head. That his dad is trying to find a job, etc., etc. It came to a head last night where we had another massive argument about it. I don't think I can even be the same room as his dad anymore, as I don't think I can control myself, as I just want to tell him to get out of my house. It has got to the point where if I never see my partner's father ever again, it wouldn't bother me. So where do I go from here? I have thought about leaving, but I don't want to leave my child or uproot my child from a normally fun and loving home. Now for the top advice before reading the little update. Sit down with Hubs with father around. Tell Hubs you can't live this way. If you have family you can stay with, take the baby and go relax for a bit. Get a hotel if you need to. Let Hubs know you will be back when father-in-law leaves. Father-in-law doesn't plan to leave, and I think you have a sense about that too. The fact that you weren't even asked and shut down several times about him to leave isn't okay. Also, this isn't a loving, fun home. Baby has a mother whose mental health is suffering. Baby has a grandfather who undermines mom at every turn. The fact that you weren't even asked and shut down several times about him to leave isn't okay. Yeah, that would be such a major deal breaker for me. Her wishes were totally ignored in a marriage. Sounds like the husband is an a-hole that doesn't care about her opinion. You don't have to go through this. You are a second-class citizen in your own home, like a child with no say. On the top of that, your authority as a parent is being demolished, which is very bad for the kid. And your role as an equal in the house is gone. For all that, I'd tell your husband that you can't take it anymore, and that if by Friday morning father-in-law is not out, then you and the kid will be out. No need to make a big scene. Just as calmly as you can inform him of your decision. Whatever he says, you just say, yes, yes, but if he's not gone by Friday morning, we are leaving, and try to kill the conversation. Why? Because your husband doesn't listen to words anymore, and therefore you should start talking him through actions. So if Friday morning you wake up and father-in-law is still there, you don't argue, you don't get into any debate, you don't make a scene. pack a bag and go. You have no other option. Living like this is hell. He is making you do this, basically. This will not change until you leave. You can't give an ultimatum. You can't even have a conversation. You need to leave. It is possible that your partner, odd word in a relationship where your mate treats you like the maid, will come to his senses until you have gone. He will never make the right choice about his father if you don't. Update. Just wanted to thank you all for the replies. My current plan of action is to get some legal advice regarding custody of my child, and also about our house as we have joint ownership, but we are not married. Once I know where I stand when it comes to this, I will sit down with my partner and discuss everything covered in this and how it has and is affecting me and our son. Then give him an ultimatum that his father needs to move out in 30 days, or me and our son will be moving out and not returning until his father is gone. My mom lives locally and has said that we can stay for a month or two while we find somewhere more permanent if required. Also, that some sort of couples counseling will be on the cards too. Thanks everyone. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.